person. External. Because the rest of the unasikia tu walienda Timbuktu wamerudi. Oh, they have flown to South Africa, they are back. How do you go? It is tough. It is tough to go there. That's all they tell us, it's tough. But when I got the door to the toughness open, I said I shall open the floodlight doors for everyone, everybody in Daystar. Conferences, workshops have to be made public. So, then engage in action research to solve societal problems. Engage in action research. It's not any research. Action research to solve societal problems. We have many problems in this country. Even before we go outside, we can start here. So how are we participating in resolving societal problems? And part of this is to be creative. I was in the US one summer, and I saw many Africans at the beach. Many. And I was happy. My host was a Nigerian, and he told me, we hope you can visit over winter. I said, okay, God willing. So the next conference I went for, it was during winter. I never saw any African on the road. Where were they? In the houses. It's too cold, you can't get out. You know winter is not 1 week. They only they even order for food, things to be bought and delivered at home. For 3 months, these guys, Africans are not working. It's cold. They're staying in the house. People who are shoveling the snow, clearing the streets, what? Are the whites. Because maybe they're used to the climate, maybe they have adapted fine. But when it comes to summer, these ones who are in the house, spending what they had spending in the house, now again they are spending the remaining in the beach. Be creative. What have we done during COVID-19? Apart from complaining, government is shutting down, government is opening, government is shutting. What have we done as scholars, as researchers? Do you have a study that you can say, during COVID, we are now in the 2nd year. During COVID-19, this is my publication. During COVID-19, we collaborated online with my colleagues who are in Timbuktu, in Kisumu, wherever. What do we have to show as the academic community? At least President Uhuru, even if he's doing the wrong thing, closing and opening, at least he's doing something. What have we as scholars done for research and publication? Oh, that COVID coming, that the vaccine coming from India. Now, India used to be our hope. Now, if there's COVID there, where shall we be going with our cancer patients? What are we doing as Kenyans? So let us not just be people, summer, going to the beach, winter, staying in the house. And then I don't want to touch that part, but after winter, when I was studying in Europe, we would see many children. Yeah, after winter. That's a path I cannot walk. But can we do more before, during, and after winter for research, for publications? How are we supporting government in formulation of policies as scholars? Solutions. Critique existing positions. There's always no need for new discoveries. There are always positions which we can critique. For example, I am just giving you this, the cultivation theory. This is the 1960 theory by this Hungarian-American George Gebner. So George Gebner, in summary, talks of cultivation. The things we see on TV, the things we hear on TV repeatedly over and over again, we put them in our minds and in our systems, and now we tend to interpret the reality, the world, in that manner. Even when it is not a reality. But so long as the TV is talking about it over and over again. In my community, we had a problem like that. There's a sister in my community, a sister like myself, who loves the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. She loves him so much. Anything Raila says is good. If Raila is happy, she's happy. If Raila is... So there's this one time, I think you remember, Raila was dancing in Mombasa, and somebody canned him. Yes, how many times did that happen? It was once, isn't it? But anytime the news was on, they would show the picture of Raila being canned, and then some stories. The picture of Raila being canned, and then... So now sister said, Aki watu wanaonea Raila, why do they beat him all the time? All the time. So it had to take me more than one day to explain this George Gebner cultivation theory, that the things we are seeing on TV are not realities. Yes. What the media does, they do not tell you file picture. So you think it is true. And when you're talking about political violence, you're talking about maybe intolerance, we need to call the media to order sometimes. So, having looked at this, my graduate students, when we did this story in class, they said, 7 students came and said, group work. Sister would like to look at this vis-a-vis Rwanda. I said, what about Rwanda? In Rwanda, up to 1992, 93, there was no television. There was no television. When it became to 93, a few people in the elite, in the urban area, started having this black and white television. So the question the students were asking me was, can this cultivation theory hold in places where there's no TV, but there is radio? I thought that was brilliant. I said, oh, let's study that. So we studied it, we did a paper, and it became the award he's talking about, George Gebner Excellence Award. So we are saying we can retest existing theories in different contexts. So we can think critically. Same thing with this diffusion of innovation theory. We can decide, can we retest this diffusion of innovation theory in the African context or in Kenya and check whether these percentages still hold more than 50 years later. So we always do not have to say there's nothing to research about. There's so much to research about. We just need to be creative and critical. Now, I have skipped that. Let me just talk about writing competitive and winning research grants. I've talked about them as a solution. We write together. We involve different agents. Then proper placement of officers. DVC Academic, thank you for being here. I will say this. Reporting lines in universities affect performance of officers. My office, for example, the Directorate of Research and Graduate Studies, before it was not reporting to the VC. It was reporting to an office that I will not say here. After 1 month, 2 months, things are not moving. I made an appeal. I said, sir, if I have to deliver, there are things that we need to make a decision about. It has to go here, go to this committee, go to by the time it gets there and comes back, it has been overtaken by events. You can't perform. Sir, the Directorate of Research and Graduate Studies reports directly to the Vice Chancellor. Why? We have turned around. Teaching is number 2. Number 1 is research. So if number 1 is research, and the VC is number 1 in the university, then he has to be at the center. So research, teaching, and community service. So my office reports to the Vice Chancellor, and I think it is a good decision that the VC made. Then invest in yourself as scholars. Pay for conferences. You know, a conference such as this. I listened to the DP yesterday, the Deputy President of this country. And I was like, this nice presentation. And also I listened to other scholars presenting yesterday. I was like, this is nice. I was taking notes. And I looked at what Baraton was charging. I said, this guy is, maybe, you never know, since Baraton is church-sponsored, so you have the SDA church. You have SDA church that is pumping money. Yeah, it's supporting you. If this conference was, if you were charging 5,000 or 7,000, I would still pay. I would pay and come. Why? Because I am learning. I am meeting with the scholars. I'm no longer just reading you, but we are interacting. And break time, we shall talk more. So let us charge. Charge for conferences, and even if you want to belong to associations. I was in an interview panel of one person who had applied for senior position, And I asked him, do you belong to any academic body? No. Do you belong to any association? No. Why? My university has not paid for me. That is an answer that should not come from the mouth of a scholar. If the university is not paying, pay. You are building yourself. When I go out there, the first thing before they say, even here, Dr. Chiburango said, Sister Professor Agnes Lucy Lando. Then Daystar University will come later. So don't wait for Baraton or Daystar to pay for you. Pay and build yourself. If they pay, it's a bonus. If they don't pay, you'll still have built yourself. Then I wanted to say that about lethargy, as we get out of that. We have this aspect of being in our comfort zones as scholars. And I think we have been misinterpreting what the president has said when the president says work from home. This work from home business is killing us as academic institutions. HR must now have extra work to be able to find out what are our people doing at home. Every day they have worked at home from 8 to 5. What did they do in day 1, day 2, day 3? These are people you call for an emergency meeting. In my directorate, like we are 5. Come for it. And the room is large as this. Someone can sit there, another one in that corner. That will even be 3 meters. It's not even 1.5. No, we are working from home. The president said, we work from home. I can't come. I'm vulnerable. Fine. You go to the supermarket, I bump into you. Hello, Prof. Hi. Oh, you're here. Good. Yeah, right. Yeah. I go to the supermarket, which is crowded, you are there. I go to a funeral, you are there. But you can't come to work. So let's assert ourselves. Mentor one another. I cannot belabor that. Let us mentor one another. Iron sharpens iron. If I show you how I'm publishing, if I show you the conferences to go to, you will go to present your paper. You are not going to diminish me. We are actually going to grow. So let us mentor one another. Then punish yourself. As a scholar, punish yourself. Last night I watched news as that student was saying that the best student in the country, when he got tired, he would go and stand on the bed and read while standing so that he performs. The other one, the mom said, switch off the lights, we want to sleep. He went to the toilet to read from there because he knew where he wanted to go. And in order to get there, he had to punish himself. Graduate students, I'm now addressing myself to you. Young people don't want to get tired. They don't want to work hard. I will get tired. If I get tired, I will age. Punish yourselves. You can never become a professor or a doctor or anything if you don't work hard. So, academic community, let us work hard. Then, of course, we have said about attending conferences. So, in conclusion, how am I doing on time? I'm good. In conclusion, as a Christian institution, and Christians for that matter, don't be afraid to deeply immerse oneself as an institution and also as individuals in action research. Action research is the way to go. Don't be afraid. You cannot say for us we are Christians, we can't go there. People are researching on COVID-19, you can't because we are a Christian institution. People are researching on hunger, you can't. Because no, we have to be where the problem is. Why shouldn't we fear? Why shouldn't we fear research as Christians? We should not fear research as Christians because action research is in the scriptures. The DVC told us early in the morning, but I'll want to conclude with this one. Matthew 14, 13 to 21. Matthew 14, 13 to 21. As soon as Jesus heard the news, he left in a boat to a remote area to be alone. But the crowds heard where he was headed and followed on foot from many towns. Verse 15, that evening the disciples came to him and said, this is a remote place and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy food for themselves. This verse 13, when it says, as soon as Jesus heard the news in reference here is the news of beheading of John the Baptist. So I think Jesus wanted to be alone for some time. But as a scholar and as a researcher, am I able to assess the needs of the people or the society around me and turn them into a research problem? I've just given you this Matthew. Because the disciples are telling Jesus, this is a remote place and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy food for themselves. But as a scholar, as a researcher, when a scenario like that presents itself, am I able to assess the needs of the people or the society around me and turn them into a research problem? So the problem here is that there's no food, the people who have followed Jesus. So verse 16, Jesus replied, they do not need to go away. You give them something to eat. So as a scholar, I need to be pricked by the challenges and the needs of the world, of the people around me. Do I get bothered to begin to find solutions? Do I facilitate research? These are questions that I should be asking myself. Do I facilitate research? My vice chancellor, again, he says, if you take a problem to him, I've taken quite a few to him from my directorate. He listens, and then he says, what are you proposing? Then you say, sir, I brought this to you. So that, yeah, but what are you proposing? You have no proposal? Go think about it, come back with a proposal. Yes. That's my visit. So I am now very clear. When I go to him with a problem, I go also with a solution. Then he say, no, that doesn't work, Prof. Let's go there. Thank you very much. You must have something. So am I part of an academic community that can think and facilitate research? So eventually, these guys have only 5 loaves. The disciples have come back and told Jesus, we have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. They must have gone out to establish what was available before coming back to report. In some translation, it says the boy. So they even found out from the crowd to know that there was a boy who had something to offer. So now, I would like to conclude by saying that from this example that we have seen of Matthew 14, 13 to 21, where there's no food, a problem was identified. Jesus challenged the disciples to think of a solution. The disciples discuss among themselves on what they know and have. Jesus uses disciples' contribution to provide a solution. At the end, the problem is solved and a positive feedback is presented. Scientific action research is powerful, is biblical, and is life-changing. So therefore, let us be receptive. Sometimes academicians can be rigid. This door has always faced this way. So we cannot close that door and open it here. Let us be receptive of the new research methods coming through the new research areas. Let us be responsive to the societal problems as scholars. Let us be responsible by being ethical, by being professional. So then, post this 7th annual Baraton International Interdisciplinary Research Conference and Exhibition, let us go out and be recreative in research, grant writing, publications, participation in conferences, teaching, and much more. Thank you, and God bless you.
Let's give another big hand. We truly are grateful for that inspiring, soul-searching presentation. Are we doing it the way it should be done? Are we doing too little, if anything? Can't we do more? Yes, we can. Ladies and gentlemen, any reactions, any responses from us? Yes, Professor Gude.
very much, Professor Lando, for a very important, very inspiring, and a very educative presentation. I was thinking here that in fact the purpose for today can be concluded at this point. However, when Dr. Kibirango brought the name to me, and he told me that she is coming from Daystar. I asked him, is she coming online or physical? And he said physical. Oh. Then we had some debate. How you bring in a guest speaker just to speak for an hour or less, and then stay on campus throughout. And we talked, and then finally I said it is wastage of the time of the professor and the resource. When you invite a professor from duty and make presentation just one day, and then throughout seated here. Finally, we agreed that now I advised him, since this professor is coming and you have said that she is a very resourceful person, let's maximize her time. Give her more time to speak. That is when we agreed. And I hope this is not the last presentation. We are going to have her again presenting and sharing her experiences, and we really appreciate it. And now I understand why Dr. Kibirango insisted on inviting Professor Lando. Thank you very much. Having said that, I have a few questions for clarification. The first one, you have said the Director of Research reports to the Vice Chancellor. And you have also indicated that the Vice Chancellor is the most busiest person. So when the research is so involving, and now the Director reports to the Vice Chancellor, depending on his availability and his time, how fast can you move with the Vice Chancellor? Because sometimes these Vice Chancellors, you know, they are out of station, they are on this meeting, that meeting, here and there, and even for consultation, it is very difficult sometimes. They will be away for a week or two, so it is difficult. So how will you be able to move forward with the Vice Chancellor when your office is connected with his office? I have noted down about 4 points, but let me just focus on 2 for now. Research or publication. I think, I don't know whether it is only in Baraton or it is a general trend out there. To me, when I observe a research and the publication, it is misplaced or misunderstood by even those who engage in research. It has missed its point. Research and publication missed its point. How? Most of the research and the publications are focused only for promotion and ranking. People present the purpose, people do some research, and then after promotion, the papers remain on shelf. No dissemination, no value, no new knowledge creation, nothing. So how can we change this mindset? Actually, promotion and the ranking supposed to be the byproduct of the knowledge outcome, the knowledge making. But now it has become a means, the end itself. Promotion and ranking has become the end instead of the means. It has become the end. People target that one when they do research. So how can we change this mindset? Let me stop here on these 2 points. If we have time, I'll come back to other 2 points which I have noted down. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Chibirango and then Dr. Mimo. After those 2 participants, we will ask our guest speaker to please come over and respond. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Professor Lando. You have really done something which has made me now okay, because people were wondering why do you fall in love with people, but now you have solved the problem. But I wanted to also learn again from you. I learned last time in your new office, where you're going to be now 1 year on there, you have mentioned that you have 5 people you're working with. What are they doing? Are they occupied, or do they have enough load? Because some of us were working alone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Lando, for that reflection on the role of university, particularly in carrying out research. My question has to do with focusing a little bit on mentoring. As we teach, particularly the undergraduates, and we try to mentor them in doing research, I'm particularly focusing on the numbers. Given the numbers of the students and the time that it takes to teach the course, for them to get the basics of research and taking them through until they do the completion of the project. That requires one time. Then 2, I'm looking at the large numbers. And you're a single lecturer handling, I don't know how they do it in public universities, but I imagine that an instructor can have up to 300 students. Here at UEAB, we divide them among ourselves, and you can end up with 60 students who you are supervising and you are coordinating. I'm just concerned that practically, it is almost like a dream come true that we would do a good job on this. What is your insight on how to do it in a better way? My name is Dr.
Katrina. Thank you so much, Professor Lando. My name is Barbara. I am a master's student here in Baraton. I'm doing my master's in conservation biology. I love the quote that you've said, the most busy person is the most performing person, and that indeed is true. I remember in the month of April last month, you guys organized this mentorship program, and it was really encouraging. How I wish that Baraton had that thing, or really, if it has, it can really encourage students to follow on that, not only the graduate students alone, but anyone who's a scholar or really who wants to do this research thing. And I'm so impressed by your teachings, your word of advice, and I happen to be on this graduate forum that is ongoing all the time. How I wish that we just inculcate that, and by that, we will really grow strong as scholars and as researchers. Thank you so much.
I see more hands. How do I? Yeah, okay. So please, let's just hold our peace. Whatever notes you've taken, just keep it until after our professor will have responded to these first 4 or 5. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Chair, for facilitating this. Thank you, our DVC, Professor Gude, for those very kind remarks. It makes me feel nice. You know, all of us want to feel nice at some point, so if you're appreciated, you feel nice. It's only human, so thank you very much. Your question about the VC. Now that my directorate reports to the VC and is a very busy person, how do we facilitate and ensure that programs are not delayed? First of all, I'm a communication scholar. So I have devised communication strategies to catch my Vice Chancellor. Anytime I need him, I get him. So he's on WhatsApp. So if I'm to send a message, I send message in multiple channels. Natuma kwa email, I send on WhatsApp, I text him. Then I call his PA. So either way, I've bombarded him with it. I say, sir, there's an urgent message for you. Could you please get in touch with me? My VC always calls back. I talk to my VC every day, about 3 or 4 times in a day. How have you planned the day? What are you achieving? What research things are on your desk? Are there challenges? And if I don't ask him, he'll ask, say, I've not heard anything about research this day. What's up? So we are in constant communication. And I probe him a lot. Then he has in his office an officer who is not his peer and is not his secretary, an officer in charge of research. If I don't get him, I get this lady. Yeah, please, so she'll say the VC is in a meeting, please send him a note, put a note before him that there is this document I've sent, he needs to approve. So I have devised ways of communicating with him, and he's receptive. And the other thing is that he is passionate about research. So if you're passionate about something, then you flow with it. DVC, research and publication. The fact that many scholars conduct research and publication for the sake of promotion is a non-secret, and I blame the universities. For a long time, universities have told us, in order for you to be promoted, you must publish so many number of articles, you must go to this number of conferences, and therefore that is what stuck in our mind. So we do research and publication for the sake of promotion. We are not adding value to society. If, for example, one of your young men or young women who are not even doctoral holders have come up with something innovative to help Baraton respond to COVID-19 challenges, like this conference we are having here. These are your graduate students with your communication officer doing this. How is the university appreciating them? Because this is actually service to community. We have contributed beyond research and publication. They have gone around, they have learned what can you do on Zoom, what can you do on webinar, how can we blend? So how do we recognize that? So I challenge universities to recognize contributions beyond research and publication. And for staff and faculty, let us involve ourselves in action research. And so, again, for the universities, probably more points should be given when you're looking for promotion, not just for the sake of publication, but for a publication or a research that has impacted on society. That should attract more points compared to the others. Dr. Chibirango, my office has 5 officers. Actually 4 full-time, and then 1 who we call upon when we need more hands. The first one is myself. So I'm Director of Research and Graduate Studies. Those are two directorates in one. The second person in my office is my deputy, Dr. Dina Keino, who is the Deputy Director of Research and Graduate Studies. Now that I am here, it's a moment for me also to breathe. So she's facing fire, the other end. She deputizes me and she takes charge of the office when I'm not there. The next person is my administrative assistant in charge of research. So when I need research, I go to this one. All research things, this administrator here. The other one is an administrator in charge of graduate studies. So all communication to graduate students, conferences, trainings, I work with this particular administrator. And then the other one is the data clerk. Once we have collected data and we need things to move, the data clerk moves that for me. So we are overwhelmed. And Barbara there talked about the remedials that we conduct, the one that she attends. I work with the administrators. We are very busy. Sometimes we work even Saturdays, even sometimes Sundays, if need be. At least if we need to touch base, make calls, what. So we are very busy. We are not short of work, although we are 5. We are hoping to ask for more staff as time goes by. And I know Desta will grant. Dr. Catherine, mentoring. True, numbers is a big issue. If you have, especially in general courses. Private universities, our numbers go up to 60, 100. There we call it a big class. Public university, you can even have 300 or whatever in a class. But, again, it is incumbent upon the lecturer to be creative. I have 60 students before me. How do I make sure I get to each of the 60 at their point of need? In Daystar, since last semester, we have started what we call PBL, problem-based learning. If I'm teaching research, it is actually like CBC. We present a problem and prompt the students to come up with the solution. They should be part and parcel of the solution. Like I would go to what the DVC students and services said. If I want to get a spouse, I want to get a husband or a wife, how would you go about getting one? That is a question I can throw to the students. And they go to discuss and find out and bring and we discuss. Such an approach will not make them forget. So then we can divide them into smaller groups and have those ones who seem to be ahead of the others to be part of your champions to help the students. So problem-based learning is helping Daystar to manage not just big numbers, but to manage teaching and learning. And students are taking charge of classes right now in terms of they're more informed and more exposed. Barbara, mentorship program, I cannot overemphasize the need for universities to mentor and form graduate students so that they are properly placed as budding scholars. Now, that remedial which you attended, I think it was on 8th on research ethics. Any conference that I organize, we never miss to have a section, half a day or a few hours, that is specifically for graduate students. We need to hear you, we need to mentor you, we need to tell you how to identify a research problem, how to publish, how to conduct research, and how to analyze. And then we also have a session for early career scholars, people who have just come back, they are beginning the academic journey, how can they be helped? So that is part of my passion. I was mentored, I am who I am because of the giants whose shoulders I hang on in order to be where I am. So we will always, at least for me, I will always try to make sure that graduate students and early career scholars are given the right position and the right opportunity to grow. And the remedials are ongoing. On Saturday, we have the 10th one. So I think this is what I'd like to respond to as per now. Thank you for all the questions and comments.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will only now have 2 questions. Only 2, please, in the interest of time. We'll begin with Professor at the back and then Dr. Mutua. We just want to have 2 hands only, please, in the interest of time. Online questions? Okay, instead of the 2 here with us? Okay, so who will help us out with that.
It is concerning what was presented, so I think it...
Please, go ahead.
Okay, fine. We have a question on Zoom from Dr. Meshach Misoi. He says, thank you, Professor Lando, for the incisive presentation and clearly depicting what ails our institutions in terms of research. And then he says, explain further the scope of NACOSTI. Does market surveys say, for example, that of developing new programs require NACOSTI clearance? Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lando. You have a good presentation. I want to ask you that only two or three questions to you, because since you are graduate research and graduate study director. I want to ask you the question. These days, people are publishing the article in different journals. What is your suggestion to people publish the articles? Because nowadays, you can see that publications is like a newspaper now. If you're giving today evening, tomorrow morning is publishing. Even if you give for 1,000 or 2,000 shillings, the people are publishing the articles. Kindly let us know what type of publication you're supposed to publish the researchers. But at present now, you can see that journals in many countries, they are not recognized as journals, those are publishing the articles from the researchers. But since your publication is like a Scopus, or science citation index journals, science citation index expanded journals, like peer-reviewed, some journals are the Thomson Reuters, and you can see the Springer, like these one is all recognized. But most of the people are now publishing the articles like a paid journals. What is your suggestion? Is it the journals are recognized tomorrow in the future? And also, second question, and you can see the most of the researchers, they are publishing the articles, but they are not in this research scholar. You can say Google Scholar, ResearchGate, and LinkedIn, and you can see many that publications. Even you can see, I'm seeing for yours now. I'm seeing now your Agnes Lucy Landa. You published articles that I'm seeing, because most of the people they are not seeing. You can Google and see most of the researchers they cannot recognize. Even they are a full professor, the professor or associate in lectures, they are not recognized by the Google Scholar or ResearchGate, most of them. What is your suggestion for the people to be active in these social media also? Thank you so much. My name is Professor Paul Francis.
Professor Lando, we will request that you please come back and respond to those are there 2 or 3 questions? And then I will make an announcement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair, for that. And I want to respond to the questions that have been raised. I want to begin with the one of Professor Paul Francis. You are touching on what we call dissemination of findings or dissemination of research or publications. If I publish an article or a book and stay with it on my shelf, it has not done any service. So, as scholars, we need to establish ways in which that which we have published should find their way out into the public domain and to the academic community and beyond. So one of the ways is what we are talking about, Google Scholar and LinkedIn. And we can also have blogs. And we can also tag with our publishers, the reputable publishers. So I agree with you that published work or researchers must be disseminated. That is the last stage of research process and publication. So, yes, you are able to find me on Google Scholar, because I am there. And so we are encouraging scholars to register. First of all, you must sign up for Google Scholar so that people can find you and your work can be found. Also sign up for on LinkedIn. Sign up on this ResearchGate as well. All other places that you can be found so that your work is made public. My Vice Chancellor, Professor Laban Peter Airo, when we have any interviews on anything, he will not conclude an interview before he asks you, go to the computer, go to Google Scholar, and type your name, and let us see your publications. If you are not on Google Scholar, that speaks a lot. So if there's any academician seated here or online who is not on Google Scholar, please take 5 seconds and sign up for an account with Google Scholar so that you start being visible. Then the others will follow. Google Scholar. I can do that here. Is this thing on the internet? Okay, so can you do it as I answer the question so that we save people's time? Yeah. Can you go to Google Scholar as I answer the next question? Google Scholar. Scholar. SCH. Oh, LAR. Then hyphen, my name. Then my name. Agnes Lee. Let me help you. Okay, so let's see what Francis found. Prof, sorry. Okay, let's see whether I exist. Yeah, you see, I've even done researches with my friends from the US. So that's me on Google Scholar. I am tempted to ask, for example, we put your name, will we find you? Or yours, or the other one, or the other one, you see. So my Vice Chancellor will always ask you to go to Google Scholar, and Google Scholar will have your face, your name, your publications, how many times people have cited you, which is the most cited article, and so I am there. We can find many. Can you come and write his name as I answer the other questions? Just to encourage each one of us to be on Google Scholar. At least it's one of the most respected sites. And then you can also be on the other ones of specific disciplines. You know, like now the scientists have their own, different disciplines have their own. So you can be on Google Scholar as well as those other ones. Now, to Dr. Meshach Misoy. Okay. This one. Yeah, so you see, Dr. Francis Paul Samuel is also there. His citations are 122. I index is 3, and H index is 5. So he's there, and we thank you for being there. So everybody else, please go to Google Scholar and just sign up. It's like an email address. It will place you in the academic community. Dr. Meshach Misoy, the scope of narcosis. I have found the article that I wanted to make reference to. Article 12, Section 12, Section 1. No person shall undertake research in Kenya without obtaining a research license issued under the Act. Any person undertaking or intending to undertake research in science and technology in the country, or who accesses, handles, or transfers any material on technology, or moves it within, from, or into the country, shall apply to the Commission for the grant of a license in accordance with the Act. This requires a person issued with a license to adhere to such procedures, standards, codes of ethics, and guidelines as may be prescribed by the Act. So in short, there is no study that is to be conducted in Kenya without getting 2 approvals. One is the ethical approval. And 2 is the government permit to allow us to conduct study on animals, on trees, on human beings, on anything in the country. And people can be charged. Let me just give you anyone who contravenes the provision of Section 12 commits an offense and shall, in addition to any other penalty which may be provided for in the Act or any other written law, be liable to conviction to a fine not exceeding 5 million Kenyan shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 4 years or both. That is the Kenyan law on research. And it applies also to universities. So let's just be, followers of the law. And it is also NACOSTI that allows ethical approvals. But because NACOSTI doesn't have the capacity to conduct ethical approvals throughout the country, they have accredited centers, specific institutions that have been allowed to conduct ethical reviews as institutional ethical review boards on behalf of NACOSTI. And DASTA is such one university, and I tend to chair the Ethics Review Board. So in Kenya, please, whether you are a scholar, whether you are a Kenyan or you are coming from outside, no study can be done in Kenya without getting a minimum of 2 approvals: the ethical clearance and the government permit. Thank you very much. Including thesis. Thesis for master's students and PhD dissertations must go through the same process.
And what we are reporting here?
Sorry?
What we are reporting here?
What we are reporting here? Yes. My assumption is that the papers that have been presented in this conference, which are scientific, where a scholar went out to collect data, be it on the newspapers, be it on TV, be it in the field, that you have gotten ethical clearance. Why? One cannot say, mine is content analysis, I'm only reading newspapers, or I'm only getting data from Safaricom. We need to protect the research participants, because if you go to Safaricom and ask them to give you a list of people who have called in the last 1 month, and you bump into a name there called Agnes Lucy Lando, don't you know me? So I need to be protected in your study. That's why even for content analysis, you need ethical clearance and NACOSTI clearance. Where a waiver can be given, then you must apply for it first, then the waiver will be granted. But you cannot give a self-waiver. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's give another hand to our guest speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been sitting for like the last 3 hours. We need to take a very short break. First, to take a group photo. This is the best time before it begins to drizzle, before it begins to rain. And then we will come back, because our next guest is already here among us. Let's quickly rise up, take a group photo. We'll be guided by the chair, Dr. Edward Moka. Thank you.
Maybe as we need to recognize newcomers online, maybe. Yes. I will go there. Some online? Do we have some people online? Yes, in the morning we were having about 11 online. Now we have 23. Let me see who has not introduced himself. Andrew Boyd, Asanath, Cyrus, Stenjagi, Evans, Tanui, James. Is Jennifer still there? Please quickly introduce yourself in 1 or 2 words and tell us where you are. You start with the first one. Andrew? Jennifer is there if Andrew is not there. Huh? Yeah, I can see Helen is raising her hand. She wants to ask a question, which we have concluded maybe. Which we have concluded. Okay. Is there anyone joining us outside the country, from outside the country? I don't see any. We want to welcome all of you. We are going for a break. Don't go away. You take your break and join us after the break. Thank you very much.